Okay, so I've mentioned it to you before that I love your songwriting. I think you're a very visual songwriter, which is pretty rare, especially with the new songs. So your songs always immediately evoke pictures in the listener's head, not just with the lyrics, but also just with the mood of the music. So is that how it works when you actually write the song? Do you start with images and moods first, and then it works from there?
Yeah, I mean, every song kind of starts out a different way, but the room that I write all the songs in actually is covered. It's almost like wallpaper of just, like all these movie posters, comic book stuff. So I get to just kind of look up and I'm staring at a poster of like this destroyed city or, things like that. Or, just put on a movie like, most recently was American Psycho. I was watching that and then just had an idea that, it's kind of strange. Most of my ideas start from watching a movie rather than, most musicians, they hear a song they like, oh, cool, let's do a song like that. I usually take it from a movie.
And is that the same with the lyrics? Because you have some pretty dark, bleak lyrics, but, you're just from having met you and getting to know you a little bit from the web and stuff, you seem like a very happy, positive guy. So are you kind of like exploring your dark side, or is it more that you're kind of like a storyteller, kind of like a movie director with the lyrics?
Yeah, I've never been a fan of songs that sound happy or that portray like positive messages for some reason. I've never been that big into lyrics actually. I've always been more about the entire song, how the entire thing sounds and the mood that the entire thing puts you in, more of like the vocal melody and all that. But I guess because since I watch hours a day forensic files and all that stuff, the lyrics tend to go in that darker direction.
Now, I've also complimented you on, again, what a fantastic songwriter you are in the balance that you get. If the lyrics become too dark, it gets a little ridiculous, kind of like those, all those goth bands that we know but won't mention. And and then if there's too much going on with the electronics and the musical elements, it just becomes a mess. So is getting that balance a skill you've always had because you've been writing songs for so long, or is it something you work on, or?
I don't know. I hear a lot of music, and when a song is too electronic, it loses some, the kind of personal effect that a normal song would have on you. Or if it's too traditional sounding, then it loses my interest. So when I'm writing songs, it usually takes me about 10 different song attempts before I latch onto one that I like and go with it. Just because either I lose interest or they're not strange enough or different enough sounding or there's not something unique about it, so I just drop them all. So I guess that whole process of just, just doing a small idea and, if I don't like it, move to the next one, just eventually one sticks and I go with it. Yeah, I've always been into electronics, and without that, I've tried bands before that didn't have it in there, and I can't do it. It just, I don't know. Something about the electronics is what keeps my interest in.
Well, that will give some other songwriters there a bit of a boost, knowing that it doesn't just, well, maybe for some people, but it doesn't just come out automatically. There's a lot of work and a lot of options and a lot of choices you have to go through. So
definitely, yeah.
Now, I mentioned that you've been writing songs for a long time, but I don't want people to think you're like 60 years old or something. So I know it's because you've been writing since you were really young, and I know that your brother is a musician, of course, and your dad is a musician, and I've always been curious about that, the whole nature versus nurture thing. So do you have any theories about how much is like in your DNA and how much of it is because of your environment and your surroundings and growing up with it?
Well, growing up, there's always guitars in the house because my dad, and he actually played in an older surf band called the Outsiders, played guitar in that band. So, eventually, once I started taking an interest in music, naturally there's guitars laying around, there's keyboards, so I just started kind of messing with it, and I had him show me, I think it was Inner Sandman or something like that. It was either that or Come As You Are by Nirvana. It was my first song that I learned. And then once he showed me how to learn a song from listening to it, then I just kind of did the rest on my own. I would just sit in the room, play a CD, and try to figure out the notes. And I did the same with keyboard and did the same with drums. I didn't like relying on other people to complete a song, so I just taught myself how to do all the parts so I can finish songs on my own and not have to wait till someone else can come over and do their part or sit for hours trying to construct a song. I just wanted it done immediately, so that's kind of why I learned everything.
People might also be surprised that not only have you been a musician for a long time, but the Anix itself has also been around for quite a while. But you've just kind of had your breakout within the last few years or so. And I've seen that a lot where supposedly new bands to people have actually been slugging it out for a while. Do you think that that era of the instant rock star is long over with the bad economy and all? Does every band have to have already made it, in a sense, have an audience and some demos and stuff before labels or major management will even look at them?
Yeah, I think definitely the way the music industry is now is, to get a major deal with major backing behind you, you have to be a band that's already been around, touring, selling records on your own, that can fill clubs and all that. Once you have that, and you kind of max out what you can do on your own, then that's when I think a major label would step in and kind of pull you up to the next level. But it's so rare. I know so many musicians that are unbelievably talented that nothing happens for them. It makes no sense. I know a lot of my friends have famous parents that are musicians, and they can't get anything going. So I don't know. It's probably the worst business to ever go into, honestly.
And I don't know if it's changed recently, but I saw an interview you did about a year ago where you mentioned that L.A. was full of pretty unoriginal kind of basic rock bands with the screaming vocals and nothing really unique. So do you think that approach, kind of DIY gone wrong, maybe the bad side of YouTube and MySpace, where bands think that they can make themselves stars without really having any talent or anything going?
I don't really like to judge anyone just because I personally can't tell if the stuff I write's even good. With YouTube and MySpace and Facebook and all these things, it seems like what it takes to become well-known is just the ability to market yourself. There's so many YouTube videos that have millions of hits for some girl sitting in the bathroom dancing and singing a song in her underwear. But it's there's all these legit artists that have 2,000 hits on a video that you don't understand why that's not everywhere on TV. So it's kind of disturbing, to see what people actually like and what makes it. And I don't know if there's a real technique to doing it, but I don't know. I guess most of it's based on luck. Unfortunately, how stupid or how ridiculous you can market yourself.
Well, and do you think that there's kind of as a result of that, there's been a loss of respect for musicianship?
Yeah, to a certain degree, I guess. Obviously back in the 90s, before the internet exploded, bands had to tour, and they had to, the only way people heard about this, their music was either on the radio or seeing them live. These bands that just toured across the world and never stopped. And it's now, you get these bands that just post something on YouTube, and if they have that, that quirky little ridiculous aspect to it, then they get, a million views. So it's definitely a different era compared to even 20 years ago, when musicians had to really work hard at it to get somewhere.
So how do you keep yourself inspired and challenged as a musician when things are pretty tough?
Once in a while, I come across bands that I see them doing it, and it may be a new band to me, but then I find out they've been doing it for the same amount of time we've been doing it, or someone that does something new, and it's not just the traditional stuff that everyone does. Like a band called Party System. Mm-hmm. That one really opened my eyes, basically, to there's hope. And then, of course, Muse. That's another huge one to me. But I always seem to fall back on my original influences, like Nirvana being one of them, Placebo, Smashing Pumpkins, Depeche Mode. Those are the ones that I always kind of fall back onto. Once I put one of those CDs in the car, something like that, it just starts a whole other wave of inspiration.